Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining our session this morning, Teaching and Learning in Real Time. So you are in for a treat because you get to hear from panelists who are closer to the issues in education than most of us who attend this summit every year. You have bios in your program or in your app, so I'm going to make sure we save and conserve as much time as possible and let you read the bios yourself. But I will kind of briefly summarize who we have with us this morning. I'm Nina Gilbert. I'm the Executive Director of the Morehouse Center for Excellence in Education. And also I do other work in the field of education that allows me to work with these amazing young people that you're going to hear more about soon. So joining us this morning, we have Mr. Chase Dillon, who is an actor, a nonprofit ambassador, a filmmaker, and entrepreneur who attends St. Timothy's Middle School in West Hartford, Connecticut in his free time. We also have Mychal-Bella Bowman. Mychal is also an actor. She's a model, a musician, and a serial humanitarian who attends the Buckley School in Los Angeles, California. We have with us Mr. Jaylen Martin, who is a professional basketball player. He's a technology enthusiast, and he currently is a freshman at Morehouse College. And last but not least, we have Marcus Harden, who is a seasoned educator and the Senior Director of Academics and Development at Overtime Elite Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. So we are going to talk about what learning looks like for students who have to do school in a different or non-traditional way. And as educators, we know we often talk about learning not happening in a vacuum, and we always say that we want to prepare students for college and career and to compete in the global society. But the traditional education model, or the school systems as we know it, are not always structured to support or even recognize students who demonstrate these abilities and these skills long before they graduate from high school. Most of us are familiar, well, some of us are familiar with author Tony Wagner, who talks about how schools fail students by not focusing on other skills that are needed for the current world and the world that is to come. And these are skills like critical thinking, working in teams, being adaptable, taking initiative, effective communication, and being able to find and analyze information, and the ability to be creative and imaginative. So we've talked about how your schools support you as you do your work as young professionals. And my first question, and this is for anybody. My first question is, when you reflect on your school experiences, when you think of those skills that I've just talked about, are there any of the skills that I just named that you think your schools do a good job of preparing you for?
I'd say analyzing data. Recently, in my English class, we were reading Romeo and Juliet, and I think having such a difference, because I go to a traditional school and I'm in a classroom setting with all my classmates, and seeing what their perspective of a certain line, it may be something that I thought of completely different. I feel it helps analyzing with my classmates and by myself, and that applies to my scripts and analyzing things like that.
Anybody else?
I think that my school kind of focuses on communication and collaboration because, you know, my school at least, we really focus on collaborating with each other, getting to know each other, especially if the school year is just starting and if there are new people there. We focus on collaborating with them to finish projects and whatever the case may be. But yeah, so I think that really reflects what can go into scripts because, you know, we have to collaborate as well.
I'll say collaboration also. I'm in a data science class, and we have a lot of group projects where we analyze data from African Americans and like school rates and like graduation rates. So we do like a lot of collaboration on like different projects when we work together.
So what about taking those skills to your professional work? When you leave school, you all go to work. So unlike most of us in this room, these students spend some of their days in classrooms and then they go to jobs, right? So are you able to transfer those skills to the set or to the basketball court?
Yes, I would say so. Just learning life skills, maybe even though it wasn't maybe a topic that it's focused mainly on, it's still you build off from things like collaborating. You have to learn to adjust and kind of work with people and bond with someone quickly who you just met. Or again, like I said, analyzing scripts and things like that.
I think most definitely collaborating as well, and also curiosity and creativity. When you first meet somebody, you need to collaborate with them, you need to get to know them, and especially with the character that you two or however many there are portraying, you need to bring that livelihood into the script or movie. And creativity and curiosity, I think that, me personally, I like to be creative when I'm on set. And when I read a script, I just read it to get the gist of it, but I kind of switch it up and things like that. So that really is a good thing to have. So if both of you are creative, you do creative things, improv and things like that. So, yeah.
I'll also say collaboration and communication, because in basketball it's very important. You have to be able to play with your teammates, and like sometimes you go to like these camps and you're gonna play with people who you never played with before, so you gotta like gel together quickly to be able to play with each other.
So you miss a lot of school, right? You're quite busy, and you have to rely on other ways to stay connected, right? To your classmates, to your assignments. How do you do that? Technology, or how has technology helped you to stay caught up and stay connected to what's happening in the classroom?
I'll start it off. I'll say technology plays like a big part. One thing that we use is something called Teamworks. It's like a scheduling app, like life scheduling. Like me being on the road a lot, like they put in like where I have to be like at every time. Like my teachers can put in my assignments. My coaches can put in like practice times and like curfew times. And even myself, like if I have something important to do, I can just log it in on Teamworks so that I won't forget. And we also use like group messaging, like on iMessage. It like helps us out a lot, keeps us in communication with our teammates, teachers, and also coaches.
So Marcus, I saw you nodding down there. So tell us about, I'm not familiar with Teamworks. Tell us about how that works, and do you feel like it's an effective tool to help the players?
Yeah, I smiled. I was like, oh, Teamworks. Yes, very much so. So it helps collaborate. So for us at Overtime Elite, it's collaborating between academics, my department, basketball, content, social media, the business line. And so so many of their times when Jaylen was still with us before his voyage to Morehouse, you're competing for time. So we have 3.5 hours in the day for athletics, for academics, but then the rest of the day is dedicated to content or basketball and other media obligations such as brand or content issues. And so it truly helps us, it helps the athlete, but then it helps us as an organization, because a lot of their days and their time is spoken for. So last year, I would say Jaylen's days were probably like 12 hours long. This year, maybe 10. And so it's a little bit better. So it just helps coordinate and move along for an organization and for them.
Right.
Yeah, for my school, we use Blackbaud, and I think most private schools in LA use this platform, and we created our own website called My Buckley, and it's basically like another version of Teamworks where my teachers upload all my assignments, and then there's like, let's say if there's a big textbook that I couldn't bring with me because I'm traveling, there's online textbooks and online resources just for papers and research, things like that. And then also for sports and extracurricular activities, there's a schedule on there, and then there's just a schedule of all the games that are happening and things like that. It's easier that way. Technology plays a big part, and then also my teachers are very accessible for me. Emailing them, they like respond like an hour max, so that's helps it too as well.
I think that plays a huge part in, acting, because I have to be everywhere, and I can't be in school and being across the country at the same time.
Why not?
Well, because it's only one of me. But I will say that I use Google Classroom. Google Classroom is basically a platform that the teachers post work on, and it also has schedules of what your classes may be, what you need to do. It'll email you if something is missing or if something is just posted. So it is a good thing, to stay caught up with my work, especially if I'm in wherever I'm at. It's a good thing. And also, you can video chat with your teachers on Google Classroom. So that's a really good thing about it. And internet isn't always that great because no matter where you are, the internet might be the same. Especially if you're in a different country.
Yeah, so let's talk about, like, regardless of where you are, where are some of the, like, weirdest places you've been and you tried to access the internet and could not?
The weirdest place I've been, probably for internet, is Italy. I just got back.
They have internet in Italy, don't they? They have Wi-Fi there.
They do have
But
Wi-Fi.
where were you?
But it's different. It's so different. Italy is like, it's a great place, but it's stones everywhere. Like, you will not, and really where I was filming and where I was staying, we were under rocks because we were in Matera, Italy, and a lot of the hotels are built out of rock. So even if you put Wi-Fi connection in there, it's not gonna be good at all. And part of it, I was doing work with Miss Gilbert, and it was hard because, we couldn't really connect how we were supposed to because of the internet. So, yeah, Italy is the weirdest.
So are there other frustrations that we can be honest? There are only like 9,000 people probably watching this. Those who are not here or watching online. Are you ever frustrated with technology, right? So when you're having to get something done, and in addition to Wi-Fi not working, are there issues with the whatever device or platform you're on? Because these people here invest in, like, ed tech, so we need to let them know what's needed to make sure that you can have access to your academic content.
I think it's just like my device is dying. That happens quite often. And then also just like the internet, when the internet doesn't work, Wi-Fi doesn't work, things like that. Technical difficulties, because basically technology is my life. That's where all my schoolwork is. If I don't have that, then I don't know what I'm doing. So if that doesn't go right, then I don't know what to do.
So what happens when teamwork doesn't work?
It's gonna be like hard to like look at the scheduling and everything. So I think like a good idea would be like for like an app to be able to like still work like offline, just not be able like to update. So like I can still see what I used before, instead of just saying like error or no Wi-Fi, so you can't see anything.
Yeah, because you need a plan B, right? Yeah. So, because, back in my day, we had paper and pencil and stone, and like in Italy. So speaking of not having access to Wi-Fi or technology or teachers, when COVID hit, like, the world changed, especially for schools. Was that a big change for you? So how did COVID impact how you worked and did school?
When we were, me and Chase, when we were filming the Underground Railroad, it was right before COVID, right? And so I was already doing remote online learning, so it was more of an easier and simpler transition for me than my other classmates who had this like whole new realm and world of things that they've never done before. And then also, I feel like COVID really changed everything, but when we came back, the traditional school setting was it kind of like brightened me up. Since I'm like a social butterfly, I feel like just looking at a screen, it didn't help. Yeah.
I feel like it changed a lot. Like, for me, first time, my school didn't really have like the thing that I have now. And I used to bring a suitcase full of books,
Yes, you
just
did.
suitcase full of books, anywhere I go. And I remember I get on the plane and I can't even lift it, so other people have to be like, "Oh, you want some help?" I'm like, "Well, sure." But yeah, so I had to travel with a whole hunk of books, but I still use Google Classroom, but it wasn't as easier as it is now. But I was kind of in that setting. I wasn't in class a lot, but I wasn't online either. So it wasn't a big shift for me. But when I got back to school, it shifted everything. Like not a lot of people wanted to come to school because of COVID. So it just shifted a lot, and we really needed to get used to it, but we got used to it, so.
I'll say COVID actually prepared me for like school right now, because like when we first switched to virtual, like I wasn't used to it at all. And then so I wasn't used to being online, like staying at home all day. But now with my classes now, like I'm all over the country traveling for basketball. So now like I'm not used to being in school. Like today, like I have class right now, so like I'll
Like right now?
Yeah, like right now.
Is this excuse, Dr. Gilbert?
Yeah, I have to write you an excuse. And a hall pass.
So I'm just like used to doing school like remotely, or like in a hotel or at the gym. So I feel like it prepared me well.
Yeah, talk to me about.
I think for us, we were ambitious, so we decided to open up in the middle of COVID. Decided
Yes, you
to start
did.
a basketball
Remember.
league. Decided to build an arena, and so Jaylen being our first class, I think we went through a lot of the things of trying to build a league. And so I hope Jaylen remembers this. Those early mornings of 7 a.m. COVID tests. So we were under NBA protocol, so we would test 3 times a day. Then we'd have to wait to even be around them because they were the most important product. And then we'd have to do this long walk of shame if you did have COVID or was suspected of it. And then we had to build the model. And so for us, we built a virtual model, but with in-person instruction. So we have a virtual partner, but we facilitated in person. And so Jaylen, I think just had 2 classes. So Jaylen would come early in the morning and then go about his business. But for us, it was putting all that up at the same time. During this pandemic that was always moving, and we're in Atlanta, so that was a political hotbed for how people felt about COVID and building it there, and so it was a unique time. I was just actually talking about it last night. It feels like it was eons ago, but it was not too long ago in which we had to navigate those waters, and I do not miss those everyday mornings of testing. But
I agree. So when regular schools shut down, the film world really did not for a minute, but the protocols allowed business to continue as usual. And so for Jaylen, I know you were in this bubble, like a real bubble. And I think for the film community, there was a bubble as well. So testing, most students get up, take a shower, brush your teeth, most do that, and get ready. But for you all, it's getting up, doing all of that, and getting tested, and waiting, and testing almost every day. Right, so it kind of kept you safe and kept you going, right? So, yeah, let me go back to the bubble. Can you talk about that? Because I find that really fascinating, and a lot of people might not understand. Talk about this kind of safety net or zone that you have for OTE players and students.
So we created and curated a couple of bubbles, one inside their dormitories where they lived, and so we had deep protocols about who could come in, who could come out, where they can go. I think Jaylen's only place was really like Target. And they could go to Target and then come back. And then inside the arena, inside the school, you couldn't enter without being tested. As staff, we had to test earlier and then have the protocols to go wear masks still. So we were still masked up even after testing. And as a private organization, overtime pushed for everybody to be vaccinated. And so that was another thing, including players and athletes, which was another piece. And so it was really just to get to the pace of being able to open this disruptive and transformative league that has a school inside of it, that has a media content inside of it. And so we were able to do it and lift it up. I think we had one hiccup. I think we had to go home a little early before Christmas when we had a bit of a blip. But then beyond that, we were able to push forward and continue that into year 2. And then we went into like a weekly model. So we still test weekly, but it is not in the same way as we did in the height of COVID.
So let's transition and kind of segue for those who are not familiar with Overtime Elite. Share the model, kind of explain and describe slowly, because it's not easy to understand, but it's incredible. So share the OTE model with us, and specifically how you identify and support student athletes like Jaylen.
So it's iterated and evolved. So originally, as a transformative basketball league where we were allowing specifically basketball players to turn professional while they were still in high school, so to become paid athletes at the time. They would give up their college eligibility. The beauty was they were able to attend college still with a stipended amount if they wanted to. Year two, we have evolved to professionals and scholarship athletes. So now with the NTA and the name, image, and likeness, NIL, landscape changing, we have two pathways. So we have students who are professionals, we have students who are scholarship athletes who have kept their eligibility and still can go to college. They've chosen not to be paid as players. And so our educational model is one of, I like to liken it to Montessori. So Jaylen could be sitting in a African-American history class. His facilitator will be teaching African-American history, US history, and world history at the same time, facilitating direct instruction at different paces, and more importantly, individualized. So what Jaylen is getting may be completely different than our student who's coming from the Congo, who's gonna learn about Civil War from the era of his understanding, and then learn about the civil rights era in Atlanta, because he has no concept of that. And we're able to do that because of our small ratio, because we believe in authentic learning, so learning of what matters to them. So Jaylen is big into computer science. I've been telling him, man, this is your conference. If you ever want to be someplace, this is it. But he also has other interests. I don't want to spoil his news, because I'm sure this might come, but he just declared for the NBA draft. So when he leaves here, he's gonna go do that. Yeah. He was also our valedictorian.
And you know what? Yes. And I'll write you an excuse for the draft, too, so when you miss class.
But for a young man like him, and for all of our students, we're able to personalize it and really do education in a way that matters. And so we'll take, our math teacher will take a math lesson on some of their statistics and actually utilize that as they do now. So we really like to unpack Simon Sinek's The Why. Like, what is the why behind it? And then in my area, just being in year 22 as an educator, really building the identity outside of that. This is an incredible young man, whether he was shooting basketball, or whether he was out here building the apps. He's going to be great no matter what he is. And so our job is to cultivate that and show they're more than just athletes. And a lot of people had issue with the way overtime was started, and the reality is every other sport across the world has academies like this. They typically don't feature black and brown bodies. And so what we wanted to open up was a landscape for financial wellness, wealth building, and all those things. So last night I took another young man out to dinner, and I was like, why am I paying for this? But we're still doing these incredible things, and we're building a platform.
We can add, and not to share all of your business, but you ask, why am I paying for this? Because the athletes are paid.
Yeah, our first class, at least, a lot of them were paid, and I have no idea what Jaylen, he might make $1 an hour. So I don't know, and I don't care. And so yeah, we're able to build that, and now we're gonna move more to a hybrid model, and so we have gentlemen like Jaylen who are on our draft eligible piece. We're able to build a complementary educational program we call Pro Habits that focuses on financial literacy, mental wellness, the business of basketball, social advocacy, so they can learn identity outside of just being an athlete. As we know, there's so much more. As you know, Jaylen may have an 18-year career and he'll still be 37. And while that seems old to so many people, you have a lot more life ahead of you. And so that is the atmosphere we try to build.
Great, and that's a great segue to this next question. So we know that there are some NBA players who skip college altogether and they go straight to the league. And Jaylen, you certainly could have done that. You could decide today to do that, but you didn't, right? So why not? Why did you choose the route that you chose? And then why did you choose Morehouse College?
Oh, well, education was always like a big factor in my life. Like, my mom is a principal right now, so she always put education first. She always told me that there's no basketball at education, so I just always like focus on my grades. So even becoming like a pro basketball player, I still wanted to go to college, and I made her that promise that I'll get my degree, even if I'm in the NBA or even if I'm not. I told her I was gonna get my degree no matter what. So that was just always a big part. And I chose Morehouse because like I always wanted to go to a HBCU. Like growing up in Tallahassee, I was always around FAMU, went to the homecoming, so like HBCU was just always like a big part of my life. So me being in Atlanta, it was just like the perfect opportunity to continue my pro path and go to Morehouse at the same time. And it's like with the rich history and all of the people who went there, and it's like it just worked out perfect.
Worked out perfect for us too. So Chase, I have a question for you. So you filmed, we've already talked about Italy, but you filmed in so many different locations, and we had to work really hard to try to figure out how to make teaching and learning work out. So everywhere from the Underground Railroad to the Wild West, the marshes and bayous of Louisiana, haunted houses, all of that. So what was the most challenging part, what has been the most challenging part of trying to do school outside of the technology pieces, working through a very hectic schedule and filming in these kind of unfamiliar, non-traditional learning environments?
Well,
Oh, and how do you figure out how to concentrate, right? Concentrate and stay focused while trying to do both?
well, that's a good question. Um, well, it really depends on, what I do. Like saying, for instance, the Underground Railroad. The name is self-explanatory. A lot of things were going on, and, I have to come to work, get everything ready, and then go on set. And then after set, I have to go to school. So it's a big transition from both of them. But I will say it's a good transition because, I'm just good at it. Yeah, I know how to make that huge transition, and it's not really difficult for me. So yeah.
Is there an environment that you enjoyed more than others?
Probably when I filmed Haunted Mansion,
Why was that?
because that was a very good environment. Every time I go on a set, like to make family with my co-actors and crew and anybody. So it was a very good environment. It wasn't toxic. It wasn't anything like that. We were all family.
What do you know about a toxic environment?
Well,
That's okay, don't answer that.
but yeah. So I made family. They call me the party guy on set. I throw all the parties, and especially on the Underground Railroad. Miss Gilbert knows. We used to throw all these parties. It's fun, but yeah. So yeah. So it's just I love the environment. I make family with the people. We get together, do things. So yeah, it's like a big happy family.
And I feel like in this industry, you have to be able to flip a switch quickly. Like we were talking about last night, how Chase was saying, if we're in maybe like a crying scene, they're like, oh, now you have to go to school. You have to switch off and be able to know yourself from that character and differentiate each other.
Speaking of crying scenes, you've had some, like you had a character, did you have, somebody had a gun at some point? No, who had to carry weapons? No. Or, sorry.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I want to talk about flipping the switch, right? How do you do that? I know you said you don't really, you're just good at it, but you literally had a scene in The Harder They Fall where you're sobbing, right? Because you see something really horrific happen to your parents. And then the director can say, okay, cut, now, Chase, let's go to school.
Well, it's funny. I always have to cry, but I don't know. To be completely honest, I have no idea because I guess it's just like
It's good like that.
yeah, I'm good like that.
You just have to be like secure with yourself and know who you are. I feel like that's what helps with it.
Have you had many emotional scenes?
A lot of auditions and stuff like that. There was I can't say what it was for, but it was an audition where I was crying, and it was like a very like dramatic scene. And then they were like, okay, next scene, and the scene had no crying, and it was like a happy scene. So you have to be able to go from one emotion to the next quickly.
But I think also what helps is, again, as I was talking about family, I have a family on set. And so when I'm in that crying scene, I get together with my coworkers and we just talk it out and we just have a whole conversation about what just happened and about what is going to happen. And so I feel like that warms me to kind of calm down and settle my spirit. And then after that, then I just But yeah, and then after that, go to school, do that, and then cry again. So, yeah, that's good.
That's good. Michael, so you've had some very interesting experiences that allowed you to blend both the world of entertainment and athletics when you were a speaker during ESPN's ESPY's 50th award show. And so you had this very powerful speech that focused on identity and gender equality. Can you share more with us about your interest in that area?
I was very excited when ESPN came to me with the Title IX and the whole concept of everything. And then I think being there on stage with amazing women athletes, powerful women athletes, especially in a man-dominated field, I think was amazing. Then, of course, the words that I said in my speech and showing the statistics and also just talking about it. And it's something that isn't talked about enough and should be talked about enough. It should be talked about more. But yeah, and then also being there with Billie Jean King was amazing. It's just girl power because it's Gen Z, so we have to start this early on because we are the future.
Y'all are Gen Z? Oh gosh, is there a new generation? I thought, so, I don't know, they just keep coming up.
There's too many of them.
That's okay. Forget I asked. I can't keep up. Great. So you were amazing. You were amazing on that. So let me go back to this school thing because it's always kind of fascinating for me. So as an educator, I'm always looking for ways to make teaching and learning more relevant for students like you with old spirits, right? So how do we keep you all engaged and excited about school? And what could your schools and teachers do to make learning more relevant for those of you who also have full-time jobs?
I think it's incorporating the learning with things that we're already doing. Like for Jaylen, if it was like a math equation and the teacher used basketball, something that he's very interested in, and something that he understands more, I feel like that could help a lot. So just incorporating something that you do for fun or things that you like to do into that work.
Educators in the room, take notes. You're hearing it from them, right?
I feel like, yeah, what she said, I feel like they should incorporate what we're actually doing into what the school curriculum is. And so, like, I was in Italy, and I went to the Vatican. I went to many historic places, and Underground Railroad, I was at all the historic places, but I got no credit from what I was actually doing from the school.
But he also had to, like, read a chapter on the Underground Railroad and answer the questions on page 35. Why? Or you're in a religion class and your classmates are reading about something at a Catholic school. He is at the Vatican. He should have an A++. So we're working.
Amen.
Yeah. What he said. So you get it, right? So the challenge is getting those educators who probably have not been on the real Underground Railroad. They told me not to say it, but we actually filmed on plantations, right? So, you know, to see, especially in the state of Georgia, and I'll say this, in the state of Georgia where we are not allowed to talk about what happened on plantations, and I'm working with students who are actually filming on plantations because we're doing a period piece, right? So there's actual real experiential learning happening in real time, hence the name of the session. What about you, Jaylen? Is there a way, I know that OTE makes it relevant for you, but before coming to OTE Academy, was there a way that you felt like your school could have prepared you for your professional life?
I'll say like my old school, they did like a real good job in my history class. Like every morning we'll come in, we'll start off with something that happened like today, like on the news. We'll start off like watching something that happened important in the news so that like we can connect to like stuff that's actually happening in society. Cause like most young kids, I can say myself, I never watch the news or stuff like that. I just hear about it on social media, but it's actually like crazy how much stuff happens and we don't even know about it.
So tell me about your day. Like, we think about, students in a traditional way where they actually get on school buses and go to school. What does your day look like? Quickly, because I have another question I want to ask before we wrap up. But yeah, for someone who is a professional basketball player or a model, actor, or an actor, what does your day look like on a
Well,
busy day?
A busy day, well, acting, it's varies from any time. You get picked up in the morning, could be 5 a.m., you never know. You go to set, you go to hair, makeup, wardrobe, then you go to school, then you go on set, then you go back to school, then you go on set, then you go back to school. So it's a whole thing with a busy day, and sometimes we're only able to get an hour of school, and we bank that up because the work day is so busy. So yeah, that's basically the day.
Same thing.
I say my day is like you wake up, get breakfast, then like have 2 workouts, then I'll go to school, come back, work out again, rest for a little bit, and then you'll have like another workout later in the day. So it's pretty much you're at the gym all day, then travel to school.
Oh, your day sounds like mine. So, well, I want to go to you. So talk to us really quickly before I ask my final question about what OTE is doing to debunk the myth or any myths or stereotypes about black male athletes and their commitment to academics or an education.
I think one, Jaylen is incredible, but he's not an anomaly. And so I would say of our 21 students this semester, we have 17 graduating. Every one but one are over a 2.9, and we do real school. And then I think beyond that is that they're so anxious to learn. So one thing that we try to do is build multiple identities. So who are you outside of being an athlete? And that's a big piece that we try to do. And so it's building those things for who you are through this journey and then to the journey, and then also how that looks to use this platform to grow. Because again, most NBA careers are done in 4 years, so what does that look like after that? And really debunking that they are truly just more than just an athlete. And I keep on, I'm blowing Jaylen's spot up, but he's just an incredible young man, and we have 31 more of those who want to be more and who are doing more than just dribbling and shooting.
Okay, quickly, tell me what's next for you, starting with you, Jaylen. We kind of heard, yeah, you already kind of.
Oh, well, I just entered
Spoiler.
the draft, so it's going to be like workouts, like starting in 2 weeks. I go to Utah Jazz for the first workout. Then after that, they'll just start like rolling in, and you have like the combine. So pretty much just preparing myself for the draft while still taking my college class online.
And let's be specific, what are you taking? What are your classes?
It's African American diaspora, and yeah, that's.
Okay.
I have Dead Ringers coming out on Amazon Prime this month, actually, and it's about women's health care. And then I also recently did my first audiobook called Crowned, which I'm very excited about. It's basically just reimagining folk tales like Little Red Riding Hood and Rapunzel and things like that. And then I have some model campaigns coming up soon. I'm always modeling.
You're always in Target.
Yes, always in Target. And then, of course, like auditions and callbacks and things like that.
Okay.
Well, I have 2 movies coming out this year. One of them is called The Book of Clarence. That is coming out September 21st. And I have another movie coming out, Disney's Haunted Mansion. That is coming out July 28th of this year. And I just have a lot of philanthropy work that I'm doing. I'm in the making of building a free children's specialty hospital. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm going back to work, Dr. Gilbert. That's my project.
So quickly, you two both do some work in humanitarian areas. So you're a hospital and you have something happening in Atlanta around humanitarian awards.
Yeah, so basically I have a party every year. The last 2 years I've had it in Los Angeles, but this year I'm having it in Atlanta. So basically we just take a group of kids and we get them ready for acting, modeling, and anything that they want to do if they have small businesses and things like that. So we put them in front of big people and we get them started.
What,
Then My philanthropy work is just helping out in the community. My mom and I started actually MBI management. What is that? 3 years ago, something like that. And it's just to help kids, or really anybody, from places like North Carolina, places that aren't really big on acting or the industry and things like that, and trying to help them get them on the feet.
Great, thank you. These kids are 13, by the way. They're so busy, so productive. Let's give them a hand. Thank you.